Ooh, that's gonna be fun, sorry. Move that down. All right, ready to get going? Okay, perfect. Maybe. Technology. All right, welcome. Thank you everyone for joining me today for another Wellness Wednesday. Today's topic is going to be cybersecurity and wellness. I'm Stephanie McCraffick. I am our Enterprise Risk Management Specialist here at Mayo Employees Federal Credit Union. I'm also a certified fraud examiner. I have been working in the financial industry for almost 19 years or over 19 years now, and I've been in the anti-fraud profession for over 10 years. I'm super passionate about protecting people from fraud, financial crime, and I'm hoping here today you'll take some things away that can really help you in your everyday, day-to-day life. So today we're going to cover the importance of cyber wellness, understanding what cyber threats are out there, cyber hygiene best practices, securing personal devices, securing online transactions, and just some additional resources. So let's talk about what is cyber health. So there's really no one accepted definition of like what cybersecurity is or isn't. And it's really because cybersecurity is the broad term that's going to encompass many processes and technologies that are used to prevent, detect, and respond to threats against you, your digital data, your devices, and your systems. So cyber health or hygiene is going to be what the steps are that users can take to really improve their online security and maintain overall system health. Cybercrime can have devastating impacts on individuals and businesses. So they can be really a significant threat to your financial security. And when personal data gets leaked and into the wrong hands, individuals can become victim of identity theft and reputational damages. And as well as organizations can experience reputational damages and financial loss. So really the idea today is to focus on adopting a security-centric mindset and habits that are going to help mitigate risk. So why is this important? So cybercrime is common and growing. So when we look at the numbers for the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Report last year for 2024, we're looking at 859,532 total cyber crimes complaints reported. Now, typically, we say maybe 33% of people report something when it's happened. So this isn't even like a tip of the iceberg of what's potentially really out there. And we're all vulnerable to cybercrime. Digital technology is always around us, it's changing, it's evolving, and with increasing users and information online, there's all that juicy, tempting data out there for fraudsters. So it's important to make sure that we're protecting all categories of our data from damage and threat. So we're going to look at protecting your sensitive data, your personal private information, your protected health information, intellectual property, government, industry systems, all that's out there. Come on. Sorry, technology today. Ooh, it did not like me, it yelled at me. Okay, we'll just go like this. So I want to give you some more stats here, and I'm going to give you a lot of numbers just to give you an idea. So when I talk about reporting, there's definitely a discrepancy in the reporting. So last year, the FTC reported that there were 1.2 billion reports of loss. But the IC3 had 16.6. So, and over the prior year, there's a difference of about 25% increase from 2023. So you can see two different reporting agencies, similar numbers, but still a pretty significant gap between them. And again, that's just who people are reporting to and how often they're reporting. I'm gonna double click this one, there we go. So in 2024, compromised accounts resulted in 1.35 billion individuals that were impacted, with a total of 3,158 reported compromises. So these are the types of threats that are being experienced by consumers like you. These are the ones that we're hearing about. They're online scams, financial breaches with account takeovers, phishing attempts, social engineering, malware, viruses. Like I said, it's a 22% increase from last year, or from 2023 technically, because we're always a year ahead. $1.5 trillion are earned by cyber criminals every year. In June of 2025, there were several significant data breaches. 2024, there was 81% of the US healthcare's data was breached. And then in 2025, they're still doing the investigations, and organizations like Facebook and Google had one of the largest breaches with passwords and usernames compromised, looking at over 16 billion records. And this information hasn't even really been released to the public about who's been impacted. So cybercrime is at its all-time high, and it's predicted to continue to grow. So when we look at cybersecurity experts, they're saying that, $1.5 trillion is earned, but they're looking at $10.5 trillion being the cost of cybercrime by 2025. So within this year, we keep growing. So with all that being said, what can we do? What are we going to cover? So we're going to look at the different cybersecurity and cyber attacks that are going to affect individuals. Everyone has an opinion about what's the most important, what do you watch out for, and those opinions are going to vary and differ. So we're going to focus today on ones that we feel really impact the everyday consumer, and there's something you can do about it. So social engineering, phishing, password attacks, malware and viruses, deepfake and AI. So we're going to jump right into social engineering. So social engineering is also known as human hacking. It is the idea of manipulating someone into divulging confidential information that can later be used for malicious purposes. So typically this relies a lot on psychology, tinkering with human behavior, and there's a couple different categories in which this can be impacted. So they use computers to do this through phishing emails and pop-up alerts. These are the Microsoft pop-ups that say you have an alert that Apple or Microsoft needs to help you because there's a virus on your computer. And then mobile devices are used. So this is the text messages. So you're going to get a text message impersonating, say, your credit union, asking you to verify transactions, or the Minnesota toll booths. Last I checked, we didn't have Minnesota tolls, right? But these are the things that they're using via text message, okay? And then malicious applications. These are going to pop up and come through your actual devices. The Apple Store and the Google Store, they have different security requirements for people to upload apps. One is more risky than the other. So you have to watch for the type of applications that are being downloaded. And then using humans themselves. So when we talk about using humans, this is vishing. So voice phone calls, you're getting phone calls right away, messages that are left on your phone. Tailgating, so someone is going to follow you into a place of restricted access where they shouldn't be, but they're going to kind of tag along with you to get access. Shoulder surfing, so you're sitting at the coffee shop, airport, doing some business on your phone or your computer, and somebody's going to sit right behind you and collect as much information about you as they can. And dumpster diving, so digging through your trash, your work's trash, looking for confidential information that they can use. These are all different ways that social engineering can occur. And once we move into the next type of phishing, we'll look at the different types of phishing that can occur. So phishing as a broad perspective is looking at emails that are going to come through. They can come through as text messages. My examples all show text messages or emails being viewed on a phone. But they come through via text or email. And they're specifically designed to target high emotions or with minimal information. So they're going to try to keep the content as low as possible so that way they avoid detection. This is the basic level of phishing. So here you can see iCloud, your account's suspended. They're trying to use a sense of urgency. Your photos and pictures are going to be deleted, upgrade immediately. Okay, so these are the things they're going to try to do is create that sense of urgency. This is just basic phishing. When we talk about spear phishing is when they start to target you personally. They're going to get as much information about you as they can, your job, your interests, your name, address, phone number, and they're going to fill that information into these emails so that they look like they're specifically for you. Then we have whaling. So whaling is a type of attack that is specifically targeted at CEOs, board members, government officials, people of high influence. And those positions are used to then lure people into believing that they are interacting or working with someone of authority. This can also be used as a way to get into businesses. So they pretend to be a CEO that needs help, and then they try to get access to a computer system within a business. So even in your day-to-day and your personal lives, at your jobs, this is something to be aware of. And then phishing, like we talked about, is the voice message, the voice phishing. They're going to use trusted phone numbers that you know and trust. They're going to do what's called spoofing. They're going to make the phone number that comes up on your phone look like it's coming from someone you trust. It could be the exact same phone number as your credit union, your parent, your child. They will spoof a phone number so it looks like the caller ID is saying it's coming from someone you trust. And by doing that, then they start talking to you and engaging in a conversation. These are some voicemails that were left after some attempted phishing calls. I just chuckle when I see these because I don't know about you, but I don't know the last time my cable provider offered me any kind of discount. So these ones make me chuckle. All right. And then our last one is, one more, smishing. So smishing is the text message version of phishing. Again, you're going to get text messages just like your emails that are going to come in. They're going to have suspicious links to click on, phone numbers to call, and they're going to create a sense of urgency. We need you to approve a transaction. This is something you did. Notice how there's a link to click, but they also are spoofing our logo here to create that sense of like authority, like trust. They want you to believe that it's us. Same thing with my Verizon, avoid limitations on your service, click here. So there's a link to click or a phone number to call. Okay. And then the last type is farming. Farming is like a whole other level of phishing attacks because they know that people are getting smarter, that we're catching on to some of the things that they're doing. So what they're doing now is they're inserting into these things not just bad links or bad phone numbers, but they're inserting fake websites that look exactly like companies that you trust. They look exactly like the correct URL with very tiny differences. Ways that you can identify if you're being directed to a bad website is the website acting funny? Is it missing or have altered things that you're used to seeing? And is it asking for weird personal information that you haven't been asked for before? And then all of a sudden, do you start getting unsolicited texts and emails? Those are some cues that you might be being redirected to some bad sites. So that's phishing. Now, when it comes to phishing versus spam, there are shared traits, but they are different. So some of the similarities are they can be unsolicited by both. You didn't expect it. They could be harmful. They're attempting to steal your information or waste your time. And they can be illegitimate and use techniques like spoofing to make it into your inbox. This does not mean that all spam is phishing. So when we look at the differences, phishing is like they want information from you. Credit cards, passwords, numbers, bank accounts. They're typically targeted. They're going to get specific to a group of people or an individual. They're going to have malicious links or attachments. They are going to use a sense of urgency, and you should report and delete these. When it comes to spam, it's mostly unwanted advertisement for products and services. It's going to be sent to millions of people. It's broad. There might be links to legitimate websites, and they usually don't contain attachments or require immediate actions. So these can just be marked as spam and deleted. All right, so the next type of attacks we're going to go through are some password attacks. And some of these I'm going to try to move through pretty quickly because I feel like the things we want to do to protect ourselves are more important than the details about these, but I want to give you a high-level overview. So passwords or attacks are the process of obtaining a password enabled to gain access to accounts. So there's dictionary attacks, which is a way to crack passwords by trying every combination of words and numbers from a predefined list that they've received until one of them works for someone. A brute force attack is going to be where they take a series of character combinations and they're just going to use the computer to go after it until they find the one till they eventually get in. The only way that's going to stop a brute force attack is by having things in place to stop the number of types of passwords you can try. So limiting password attempts. So if you're only allowed to try your password 3 times or 4 times, and then it locks you out, that's because they're trying to prevent this for you. So when companies and websites are limiting your number of attempts on your passwords, it's to protect you from brute force attacks. And then there's hash cracking. So passwords are usually stored in what's called a hash, which is a string of random numbers and characters that's used to hide your password. And what they're doing is they're scrambling it up so that they can prevent somebody else from reading it. And hash cracking is essentially the attempt to predict and use the hash value to guess what your password is. All right? Some other types of password and man-in-the-middle attacks are going to be, man-in-the-middle attacks are going to be using digital tools to essentially eavesdrop on you. So this is essentially a form of eavesdropping, but through digital means. So for example, if a computer makes a connection to the internet, the data is going to be sent from point A, your computer, to point B, the website. So the man-in-the-middle attack is trying to get in between those two connections. So the ways that they do that is there's IP spoofing. So they're going to try to change the source of the IP to look like it's something else. Session hacking, they're going to get in there and they're going to take control of the web session that you're on with a site and change the information and track it and take the information that you are putting into that site. And then there's replay. So replay is the attack when essentially they're going to intercept and retransmit or delay or redirect your data. So you've got your main connection, typically would go from the user to the web application, and they're going to create a new session between the two, and they're going to intercept and redirect that information back and forth. And then very common types of threats that we hear all the time, malware and viruses. So malware is any software that is designed to cause disruption and mayhem. Okay, it's going to attack computers, servers, clients, networks. It's going to leak private information, gain unauthorized access. That's what they're designed to do. Viruses are malicious software that their job is to infiltrate and damage the computer system. So when we talk about some of the different ones that are out there, so we have keyloggers. This is something that's going to hide in the background and just collect all the keystrokes that you're doing. It's going to collect your username and password. Spyware. This is going to gather information in the background of stuff that you're doing, pulling information off your computer. Ransomware. This is one where it's going to pop up, it's going to steal, block, or encrypt your data. It's going to go black, you're not going to have access, and they're going to try to get you to pay them to get access back. There's a Trojan horse. This is something that looks innocent, so it could be something as innocent as an ad that comes up on your computer, but really it is, what's another one? Like an Android, there's an Android device one that happens where it's called a banking Trojan, and it disguises itself as a real app on your phone, like a QR code scanner, or can copy, look like it's Instagram. But really what it's doing is in the background, it's running and laying things over top your other applications so it can gather the information you're typing in on top of it. So it looks innocent, but it's malicious on the backside. And then there's adware and advertising support software. This is going to give access to things on your computer. So an ad's going to pop up advertising something, and it downloads software onto your computer that's going to collect and store and gain access. And then finally is a worm. So the worm is a standalone program. Its goal is to replicate and spread and wreak havoc. It's going to go from device to device to device on your network and just crash and wreak havoc. All right. So this is probably the one that everybody's the most concerned about right now, and that's getting the most hype when we talk about cyber threats of deep fakes and AI. So AI is everywhere in our lives, from your wearable watches to your thermostat at your home, your cameras, your music playlists, your email filters. It's everywhere. And it's really impacting our daily lives all around us. It does a lot of really great things. It can also come with some dangers and risks. So a deep fake image is a type of synthetic media, so it could be a picture or a video, that's hyper realistic, and its goal is to manipulate, deceive, impersonate. It's being used for malicious reasons, to convince you that something is happening that didn't ever happen. So we've seen a lot of examples of this in the media, like the Pope and his puffy jacket, some fake attacks on the Pentagon and the White House. And then most recently, what we're now seeing is not only are they creating deep fakes of fake things that have never happened, but now people are using the excuse of deep fakes to get out of prosecution and arrest. They're saying, oh, that's not me, that's a deep fake. So it's being used kind of the reverse. So the technology for this is getting more and more advanced, and we're really seeing this happen a lot with cybercrime in romance scams, investment scams, sextortion scams, just to name a few. So deepfake can create fully real people now, from scratch. You don't even need anything. And so we're gonna play a little game. If you've been to one of my sessions before, try not to ruin it for everybody. So picture 1 or 2, which one do you think is the real person? Number 1 or number 2? What's everybody say? Got 2 in the back, 2. Anybody else? 2, 1, okay. Number 1's the real person, okay? How about this one, 1 or 2? 2, 1, 2, 1, okay. Number 1. How about this one? Maybe number 1 over there, yep, 1, okay. Anybody think 2? Over here, 2, okay. It's number 2. Last one. Who thinks number 1? Back there? How about number 2? 1, 2, okay. It's number 1. So when you're trying to uncover if something is a deep fake or if something you're seeing is a deep fake, some of the things you're going to look for is blurry image distortion. Are they missing pieces of glasses, or jewelry is mismatched? Are there clumps of hair missing? Are the hands odd? AI can't get hands right now for some reason. Like, it's just a thing. So watch for the hands. Look for those kind of oddities, right? Backgrounds may have distorted architecture, plants. The text and signs and billboards may either be completely distorted, like a completely alien language, or unlegible. And then generally with people, when you come up on people, it's kind of going to be this typical like center of the face, uninvasive, slight smile. And these are the tips right now. As this continues to advance, these might not always hold true, but they're at least a great starting point as you flush out some of these deep fakes.
Which one's the fake one?
This one, number 2 here. Yep. So
somebody pointed out a month or so ago, probably Facebook, that there was some video or whatever, and they said the reason you found out that that one was fake is the person had 3 arms.
okay, there was a comment here about how something on Facebook, somebody found out that it was fake because someone had 3 arms. Yes, yep, I told you it's the arms and the hand. I don't know, they can't seem to get it.
That's great, I hope they never do.
Yeah. So it's not just images anymore though, right? So deepfakes have moved on to using AI to create convincing speech that sounds specific or real to a person that they're trying to mimic. So we're going to go through here, and everybody's familiar with Johnny Cash. He's going to sing us a few songs from some current artists. Oop.
Hello, I'm not Johnny Cash. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere.
How about some Spice Girls?
Oh, come on, Barbie,
see.
let's go party, 'cause I'm in a Barbie world. If you wanna be my lover, you gotta get with my friends. Make it last forever, friendship never ends.
How about some Miley Cyrus?
Hands up playing my song, the butterflies fly away. Yeah. It's a party in the USA.
It's pretty good, right? Think about if this was your
music.
daughter, your son, your CEO. It's pretty convincing. And they're taking this technology now and it's being used actively by cyber criminals. I had a very brave victim who allowed me to use this situation and share it with you for the benefit of telling people and showing people what's out there. In this particular situation, this person is pretending to be this Mike Millihan, a sergeant. And they've developed this relationship for months talking to people. This is how these scams work. They develop these really in-depth relationships and trust. And then, as they talk, they get videos, they get pictures. So here's a real live video that was sent from a scammer.
Morning, honey, please, you're getting me worried. Please, I want you to talk to me. I don't care about my money anymore. All I care about right now is you please respond to my text. I really can do. Without talking to you, please, I love you so much, honey.
Now some people say, oh, this is so easy to spot. It's easy for us. We're not in a relationship with somebody who we know is in the Air Force or Navy, who says they're overseas, and who's experienced life with people with technology where you don't have service, you get glitchy phone calls, you get glitchy video. So looking at it outside of the situation, it looks like, oh, it's not that great. But when you're thinking about it with that context, this could be a really great video. You think somebody's just got bad cell service. That's why it's all like choppy. And this is the cheap version of this technology.
Morning, honey.
So now they can take deep fake video, AI, in 3 seconds of your voice and create full videos, full moving images, like for FaceTime, Zoom, and Teams. They can pick the picture, they can pick the voice.
But you know what I decided to do? I decided to focus all my attention, all my time on listening. So instead of doing something else, I just listened, and listened. Because I'm a true believer that if you're really bad at something like listening,
and in real
for
time,
example,
they can paste the text of what they're going to say to you next
you have
as
to
you're
practice
talking.
listening as much as you can.
We introduce VASA, a framework for generating lifelike talking faces with appealing visual effective skills, given a single static image and a speech audio clip. Our model is capable of not only producing lip movements that are exquisitely synchronized with the audio, but also capturing a large spectrum of facial nuances and natural head motions that contribute to the perception of authenticity and liveliness. The core innovations include a holistic facial dynamics and head movement generation model that works in a face latent space, and the development of such an expressive and disentangled face latent space using videos.
So when you look at a clip of your kid, your loved one, their voice, their picture, they're moving, they're talking, this stuff gets real fast. So I don't show you all this to scare you. I don't want to be doomsday like the world is horrible and everybody should be afraid. I tell you this to make you aware. Because when you're aware of what's out there and what's happening, we can find ways to protect ourselves and prepare ourselves and be mindful of what's out there. So we're going to talk about some different ways we can help protect ourselves amongst all this. And the first thing I'm going to talk about, no surprise here, is passwords. And the importance of using strong passwords. We need to use strong passwords and change them often. And I know this can feel overwhelming and a nuisance, but there are a lot of different things you can do to utilize to help make managing your passwords less cumbersome, like password managers or a notebook to keep track of it all. You want your password to be long, at least 16 characters. You want it to be unique. So don't reuse the same password over and over again, don't recycle it, and don't share passwords. 2024, here's our most used common passwords. 123456. 123456789. QWERTY, that's like typing across the keyboard directly. That's not clever. Okay? The fraudsters know this. We have to do better than this. If we don't, we're giving them access. Okay? Look at password phrases. Use a combination of letters and numbers, like Marmaduke is a sloppy dog, and add some of the special characters in there instead of the numbers or the letters, and add some numbers in instead of letters. Make them complex. Use upper and lowercase letters, numbers, spaces, special characters. And consider using randomly generated passwords. Here's a tip. Computers are a lot better at being random than we are. Okay? And when we talk about passwords, consider a password manager. So a password manager is a database that stores your username and passwords for sites, applications, and other login credentials that are needed. It just makes for a smooth transition. Now, if you are not comfortable with technology, don't do this, right? Like if technology makes you like squirmy, my IT people are gonna like squirm when I say this, but you don't have to use technology to protect your passwords. It is safer if you don't like technology to write it in a notebook and keep it at home locked up. For the love, do not walk around with that notebook in your purse or wallet or back pocket, okay? But keep it at home, keep it locked up, and that is a perfectly acceptable way to protect your passwords, is using a notebook. Otherwise, password managers are amazing. One of the things I love about them is they provide safe alternatives to storing passwords in a secure method. You're gonna have a master password. It's one password you have to remember. That's gonna be super complex that you can store at home, written down, locked up, that it's gonna ask you to be able to get into it. And it's always gonna use more unique, complex passwords. It's just gonna help you keep those flowing and changing and not using information necessarily about you.
The ones you have on your computer, like, it'll pop up and say, do you want to save this password?
Okay, the question is here about what about when your computer pops up and says, do you want to save this password? I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I'm going to say do not save your passwords on your computer. That pop-up that's happening is saving it to your browser, which is not secure, not encrypted, and it doesn't have any protection if somebody gets into your computer.
What if it's asking username?
Same thing, don't save your username. Yeah, it said,
How do you get rid of it when I have one that pops up, it always gives me two choices? How do you get rid of it?
so the question is, how do you get rid of it if it's already saved? You're gonna have to go into your browser and you're gonna have to delete your history, cookies, cache. You're gonna have to wipe the whole browser, okay? All right, we'll come back to some other alternatives too with the computer, but as we move down here a little bit. So when you're looking at a password manager, you're thinking about one that you want to select. It's how do you pick one, right? There's a bunch out there. How do you pick one? Read consumer reviews. What are other people saying about the password manager? Look at how are they protecting your information. What kind of security, encryption, what kind of things are they offering to protect your information? The biggest one for me is how are they communicating updates or data breaches about your information. Now when I say this, password managers have a lot of information in them. So they're going to be targeted by scammers, fraudsters, cyber attacks, right? But the important thing is how fast and how are they communicating those attacks with you? Because if something happens, the quicker they respond to you and let you know, then you can change your master password, make some updates and move on. But if you have a company that decides they're gonna wait 6 months to a year before they tell you about a breach or a compromise, there's nothing you can do to protect yourself. So make sure you're reviewing the company like reviews and their past breach history to see how they've been communicated and how many they've had. Personal opinion here, just me, not the credit union, not anybody else. I do not like LifeLock. I just personally tell everybody to stay away from it. When you have a CEO who's been compromised like 17 times, just stay away from it. He can't secure anybody. That's just my opinion. So what would I recommend? People ask me that all the time. So consider important features to you. Do you want VPN? Do you want encryption? What else? Let's see. VPN, encryption, those are the big things. So when you're looking at, what are the cost? That's the other big one. How much does it cost? So here are 3 password manager options that I think are great password managers. I've used them, I like them, I recommend them. They're solid companies in my opinion, right? KeePass, 1Password, or Proton Pass. Some of these have free services, some do not. But these are 3. Obviously do your own research, pick which one's right for you, but here's a starting place. Now, when it comes to passwords, the next kind of new movement or new wave of things is called passkey. So you might have already started to see some of this come out with some of your accounts, especially with like Apple or Google, iPhone, iCloud. A passkey is essentially using, there's a lot that happens in the background, right? So it's using the communication in the backside to connect one of your devices, like your phone, to your other accounts, your other computers, and things like that. It's pairing those two on the backside to create like a secure fingerprint authentication. And the reason that this is so being implemented everywhere is because it's one of the strongest forms of protection we have out there right now. It's a really great alternative to passwords. You don't have to remember anything, you just have to have your device. And it's going to use a very unique ID that is specific to each device, account, app, or website. And it brings more resistance to phishing because there's no password to gather, there's no username to gather, there's just the device, and the connection. And none of that information is stored. It's all private. So everything is stored on your end with your device. It's not shared with the website you're connecting to or the other computer you're connecting to or the application. It's all on your device, so it's more private. And this is really what we're seeing as kind of the future wave of authentication. So we have more and more companies getting on board. So passkeys are also going to utilize your device locks, like your fingerprint, your face, your PIN, or your pattern. Now, if you currently, right now at this moment, do not have your phone with a lock on it, the number one thing I will tell you today to do is lock your phone. With your face, with a PIN, with a pattern, something, lock it. Because that is the key to most of our lives right now, and without that lock, it's open game for everybody, okay? The next huge best practice when it comes to password and authentication is utilizing multi-factor authentication. So this goes by a lot of different names. Two-factor authentication, MFA, two-step factor, MFA, 2FA, they all mean the same thing. They're essentially using a secondary method of authentication outside of just your username and password. So they're going to do one of three methods. They're going to ask you, in addition to your username and password, something you know. So they're going to ask you for like a PIN or your sister's middle name. They're going to ask you for something you have. So they're going to use an authentication app, or they're going to send you a text message with a confirmation code or an email or a phone call. Or they're going to ask you for something you are. Use some of your biometrics, your fingerprint, your face print. So through social engineering, these methods can be bypassed. These two factors can be bypassed. So here at the credit union, when we utilize two-factor authentication, it's being utilized for your online banking. For example, you'll set it up so that way if you want to change your password, you want to add a service, you want to send a transaction, it's things that you are doing. You will be asked for a code that'll be sent to your email, your phone, or a phone call. We will never ask you for that 6-digit code. We will never ask you for it. It's for you when you are doing something. So you should never give that code to anybody else. It's for you, okay? That is a huge thing that happens with phishing attempts, is they will pretend to be the credit union or pretend to be Microsoft, and they're going to authenticate you, and they're going to send you a code that you need to give back to them. Well, what that code is really access to your online banking. It's that two-factor authentication that then you're giving to them so they can get in, because they already have your username and password. So it's really important that that code stays just for you. All right, let's talk about safe browsing. Public Wi-Fi. So public Wi-Fi or hotspots are typically in coffee shops, malls, airports, hotels, and can be seen as super convenient. Oftentimes when you're using public Wi-Fi networks, this information is, networks are not secure and your information is potentially at risk. So most public Wi-Fis do not have passwords, and if they do, the passwords are freely given out to whoever. This means that anybody can be on the network at any point in time, snooping and looking at everything you're doing on your device. It's a perfect opportunity for hackers. So look for private networks because they are only discoverable by your devices and devices that are approved for that network. Public networks share connectivity among countless users, but not all public networks are the same. So when you're using the public Wi-Fi, say here at the credit union, because of the rules, the regulation, and the business that we do, and the requirements for security that we have, we are constantly monitoring our traffic here on our public Wi-Fi. You go to the airport, it's not the same thing. They could care less. So using public Wi-Fi in places that are more known secure places, always a little bit safer than like a public airport. Rule of thumb is never go onto any type of private, financial, medical site when you're on public Wi-Fi, okay? Couple things also to avoid that will put you at risk with public Wi-Fi. Installing any systems, applications, or updates onto your devices or computers when you're on the public Wi-Fi. Accessing email, social networks, shopping, banking services, and configuring your devices so that they just automatically connect to Wi-Fi without your permission. So some of the things that you can do to use it safely is make sure that any Wi-Fi that you're connecting onto, you verify that you're connecting to the correct one, that it's the actual business's Wi-Fi. Make sure you're using a VPN that you trust to protect and encrypt your data. If you have any concerns or see anything odd, make sure you tell the business right away. Report it to the police if necessary. And whenever possible, use your mobile data services like your 4G instead of Wi-Fi. Now, again, I'm telling you, don't go out and charge up your cell phone bill and say, you told me to use my data instead of my Wi-Fi. Okay, check what your plan offers you before you do this, obviously. You're responsible for that. But if your plan has like unlimited data, always use your data instead of Wi-Fi. It's just more secure for you. Question up front.
Yeah, the bottom line was when using public Wi-Fi, always use a trusted VPN. I don't know what that is.
Yes, so we're talking about you always use a trusted VPN service. I'm gonna tell you what a VPN is here in just a minute. We'll come to that next, okay? Safe browsing. So when you are online browsing for things, make sure you are using trusted URLs. Read the URL link. What does the URL link say? Is it HTTPS, which stands for secure? Or is it HTTP? So HTTPS is going to mean that they have had to pay for security for that website. Now scammers can do that, but it's less likely they're going to spend the money on it. So always check that, as well as reading the link to make sure that it's exactly where you're intending to go. If you're wanting to go to Mayo Credit Union, you're going to mayoemployeesfederalcreditunion.org, not Mayo with an @ C Union, you know, whatever. Like, make sure the link matches exactly what it's supposed to. And we talk about using a VPN. So what is a VPN? So a VPN is going to mask your IP address and your internet activity and reroute you and your traffic through encryption, so that way your identity and the things that you're doing is secure, encrypted, and protected. It's gonna kind of be like a shield around you that you and your information go through, that can bypass and protect you from all the different things. Hackers, privacy, all the things that gives you extra barrier of protection around your activity.
Do you have to put that on your computer?
Yes, so the question is, do you have to put that on your computer? Yes, a VPN would be something that you add to your computer, your phone, your network in general. So you can check with like your service provider for like your home internet to see if they offer VPNs within your service. And then we have a couple for like your cell phone and things we recommend that you can look at. All right, the next one is encrypting sensitive information. So VPN is one of the ways we can encrypt sensitive information, but also anytime you're using email to send information, make sure you're using encryption and locks and passwords through PDFs, Word documents, and the email itself, look for encryption. And update antivirus regularly. So this is gonna help detect, prevent, and deter and remove viruses and malware from your devices. It's gonna block annoying pop-up ads and dangerous pop-up ads, and it's gonna scan your system and devices in real time to make sure that you're blocking bad sites, and it'll keep your device moving faster. So when we talk about making sure your devices are secure and protected with antivirus software, when you're looking to find an antivirus software, what are you looking for? How do you choose? So you're going to look for something that's doing real-time scanning and updates for you. It's going to check your devices and everything in real time. It has the ability to actually remove things that it finds. You have access to support, and you know how to access that support. It tells you which devices are protected, because not all antiviruses protect all device types, and that you're getting protection without sacrificing performance. So there's a lot of questions over whether Android or Apple is safer. And my Android people are going to come for me. But I will every day say that for an everyday user, Apple, iPhone, all the way. They just have more built-in protection that's harder for people to change or alter themselves to put themselves more at risk. And the Apple Store has stricter criteria to get their apps published to the store. So it makes it just overall more secure. For my Android users, it's just something to be mindful of, that when you're downloading apps, checking in your app store, what are the ratings? What are people saying about the app? Make sure you have an antivirus like Total AV or Bitdefender on your device. Total AV and Bitdefender are great devices that can offer, or companies that can offer a lot of extra protection. You could put them on Apple products as well. They're not necessary there, but they're a great resource. So a few of the top rated companies, according to Forbes Advisor this year, are going to be Total AV, Bitdefender, Surface Shark, Aura, A-U-R-A, McAfee, and Norton. So when we look at antivirus software. Firewalls are another important feature to make sure you have to secure your personal devices. These are going to be a system or tool to protect you and your system from outside threats. Malicious software, bad traffic. They can also prevent other people from accessing your network and computer. That's their goal and their design. Again, Android and iPhones, both on this one, don't typically need a third-party firewall installed for an app. They both have pretty well built-in firewalls. If with Android you are what we call an advanced user, you really like technology, you're doing a lot on your phone, messing around with the settings, it might be something to consider adding an extra layer for you. And then encryption. So we've talked a bit about encryptions and VPNs and protecting your traffic and encrypting your data that way. With phones specifically, all of your devices have encryption built into them as long as they have a lock on them. So if your phone is locked up, the information on that phone is encrypted under that lock. That's why I tell you it's the most important thing you can do today is lock up your phone, okay? Just checking my notes, make sure we're getting everything. All right. And then the last thing for this one in securing your personal devices is backing up your data. So it's recommended, data backup is like the practice of copying the data from your primary source to a secondary source location to protect it in case of an accident or malicious incident. It's recommended to back this up about once a week. Some say every 24 hours. This may seem excessive, but the more often you do back up your data, if something does happen, the less work or concern and fear you have to put into it later. So some of the strategies you can use when backing up data are going to be an external hard drive, a USB flash drive, cloud storage, or online backup services, or a combination of these. Software updates are the next thing that can really be beneficial to helping keep your devices secure. So software updates and patching are going to be pushed through by your providers. Microsoft, Apple, they're going to push through updates and patches through their applications to keep them current and up to date. So really, this is something that you want to build a habit into to make sure that you're checking that all the updates are happening on all of your applications. Some of services and phones have automatic updates where you can just click a little box and it'll say it'll do it for you. That's great, But if you're never connecting to Wi-Fi at home, those updates may never actually get pushed through. So it's important just to make sure you're checking them regularly. Don't rely on those auto updates, like I said, and the importance of them is that they're patching repairs in a piece of programming that something's been found wrong. They found a loophole or a bug or an issue, a security incident or compromise that is impacting your overall security that they're trying to fix. So that's why those are important. And they can also add new enhancements and features. So sometimes you'll notice when you update your phone that all of a sudden everything looks different or they move stuff around. As annoying as that is, typically there are security updates with those, but that is also how they get new features added. And then without updates and patches, devices are left vulnerable and open to attack. So it's really important. Just looking at time, making sure we have enough time here. Okay. So next best practice is for securing online transactions. We're looking at using that secure connection. Like we've said, make sure your connection is encrypted. Make sure you're not on public Wi-Fi. Using a VPN. Use strong passwords. Using two-factor authentication. This isn't just with like your financial institution. Anywhere that offers it, use it. Shop with reputable retailers. Make sure you're going to the actual legitimate retailer's website and that you know them. They have well-known throughout the company. It's not just one time you've seen it online and you're going to go shop there. And beware of sponsored links. So Google tries to do the best that they can to avoid having bad sponsored links and websites put up on their page, but they can't catch them all. So what scammers are doing is they go through and they build fake malicious websites and then they pay to have them sponsored so that they're pushed to the top of the list. So let's say you're going to go pull your credit and you want to check on your credit, you go to TransUnion, search TransUnion in Google, the first one that pops up could be a malicious link if it's sponsored. So make sure you're validating your links, checking them, making sure they match what you expect them to and they have that S.
What if you go through like 3 or 4 pages before you pick one? Does that help you get away from the ones that are getting paid?
The question said, what if you go like between 3 or 4 pages before you pick one? Yes, that definitely helps, right? You still want to make sure you're checking. I usually just scroll down past the sponsored and kind of check the first few on the first page to find what I'm looking for, but I always skip the sponsored. I never click on the sponsored ones. Always use a credit card. Now this seems like a silly piece of advice for online shopping, but here's why I tell you that. Credit cards offer a form of consumer protection for disputes and fraud situations, and you're using a line of credit versus your own checking account money. So if something does happen, you're using essentially other people's money, not your day-to-day money that's for your bills. You'll want to use your credit card over, a lot of times we'll see with like Facebook Marketplace, when you're buying stuff online from people, they're going to tell you to send funds via Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. My advice would be to steer clear of these services because those services are designed to pay your mom back for coffee, right? Or bring your girlfriend out to lunch and you're splitting the bill. They're not designed to pay people online for things. And what happens is the same consumer protection that is built into your credit and debit card are not built into these services. So a lot of the times you'll end up footing the bill if something goes wrong. And then, yes, question?
Credit card, so do you have the same protection with a debit card?
Yes. So debit cards do technically have the same protection rules as credit cards. The question was, does the debit card have the same protection rules or do they? Yes, they do. But the difference is with a debit card, it's pulling from your account and your money. So it's gone. Now, with the rules and the protections, it's fraud, you're going to get it back, right? Or if there's a dispute, they're going to work with you to help you figure it out. But it's still the money in your bank account that's gone versus it being like a line of, like a credit card where it's just a line of credit that's sitting out there. It's not necessarily going to impact your day-to-day spending and your bills. So for online shopping, definitely a credit card. And then utilize transaction alerts or order alerts. So whenever you are ordering something, if they have the option to set up alerts or notifications for where your order is in the process, make sure you set those up. And again, any type of transaction alert that any company offers, utilize it. Take advantage of it so you can keep track of things as they're moving. Email and text safety. So when we look at email security, hacked emails can be the keys to everything. So with the huge incident that was reported earlier in June, and email usernames and passwords being compromised for a lot of people, big things you can do to help prevent and protect your email is using that two-factor authentication, setting that up so that something else has to be asked besides your username and password to get into your email. Using unique passwords across accounts. Don't use your same username as your email address, as your bank account, and the same password across all three. It's just like 1, 2, 3, they get into everything by doing that. Change them up, make them all different.
I tried to work with a company to change my username, and it wasn't easy, and I still haven't done it.
Okay.
They'd have to cancel the whole thing or something.
Yeah, the comment up here is about working with a company to try to change her username, and it wasn't easy, and they're still working on it. It hasn't been able to happen yet. Sometimes that might be the case with some companies. Depending on what type of an account it is, it might be worth just closing it and reopening it, depending on what it is. Like if it's like a Target account, I would probably just close it and reopen a new Target account. Oh, Spectrum is the yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Originally, everybody, you told you to use your email as your user.
yep. Yeah, it was for a long time that it was recommended, like people telling people, use your email or use your account number as your username. Don't do that. Yeah, and if it is what it is, and you can't change it, then the best thing you can do is either A, close it and open a new one if they'll let you, or B, add in these other steps of multi-factor authentication, harder passwords, things like that.
Excuse me, did you say Spectrum?
Yes.
I have that too.
And it sounds like we have a couple issues with the same company.
Not a Spectrum customer, and I got a bill on my credit card. I didn't see it till about 7 months, because it was $53 and some cents, and I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't go back and take care of it because it was beyond 6 months. Here at
The
the credit union.
credit union? Interesting, okay. Yeah,
And so I assume more or less somebody took their monthly bill and somehow got it charged to me.
yeah.
Spectrum had no idea who it was either.
It's really important to make sure that you're checking those, like any of your statement, like financial, medical, all of that. We talk about that a lot in the identity theft session we're gonna do here in October, but it's really important to make sure you check your statements every month. And I know that sounds like a pain, but it's the protection and the things that go along with your debit cards and your credit cards are only as good as how often you check them. Because if you don't tell the bank or your insurance or places about something that's happening, they can't help you prevent it. The next thing is make sure you're using any encryption on emails that the email providers offer. Some of them don't offer email encryption, others do. So that's my big next one is evaluate your email provider's security. A lot of us sign up for email and we don't think twice about it, but really look at what is their privacy? Who are they protecting? Or where are they housed out of? Are they worried about your privacy and data? What laws are they following? So really looking at your provider in a more scrutinized manner to see if they're really meeting your security needs. For example, when you talk about privacy laws, Proton Mail is based out of Switzerland, which has super strict privacy laws for the consumer. So they have more privacy and security built into their email. So when we look at considering your and evaluating your email service provider, look at the privacy focus, look at the cost, because not all of them are free. Look at the encryption, and then what other security offerings do they have? Do they have spam filtering, email aliases, multi-factor authentication? So TechRadar's top email providers that they recommend, and not all of these are free, are Proton Mail, Smart Mail, Gmail, Outlook, and iCloud Mail. You can tell there's a theme here that I really like Proton Mail because I use a couple of their services and recommend them. They do a really good job overall for security. That is my personal preference. Research for yourself and choose for yourself, but. All right, and then coming into kind of some of our last email and text safety and looking at recognizing phishing attempts. So We talked about phishing earlier, and ways that you can help protect yourself is when you're getting messages, phone calls, emails, text messages. If you weren't expecting it, don't open it. Let the call go to voicemail, no matter how hard it is. Let the call go to voicemail so you have a chance to verify it and authenticate it before you have to respond. We now live in a world that we need to validate before we trust. Does it create any kind of strong emotional reaction? These phishing emails are designed to trigger your fight or flight response. It's called amygdala hijacking. So they try to get you all worked up in that fight or flight response so that your logic and your reasoning can't take over and help you process what's actually happening. So if you have any kind of like, ooh, or kind of a reaction, that is your time to pause and reflect before you react. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Handle all emails, texts, calls as suspicious until you can prove they're legitimate. With this, any call or email, if you get a phone number in it, something pops up for you to call them, you have an email with a link to follow, never respond to any of your messages or communications with the number that came or the link that came through in that communication. So if you get a text message that says, I need you to verify transactions, click this link or call this number, I want you to leave that message completely and go find the debit or credit card or bank number that that's attached to and call that number. Or if it's an Amazon order and they say, oh, there's an issue with your order, click here to find out more. Don't click the link. I want you to go outside of the email or text, go to your Amazon account and look for communication there. So we're leaving the original form of communication to find a better source number. And then remember SLAM. Evaluate the sender. Who's it sending it to you? Review that email address. Is it coming from Amazon@gmail.com? That's not who Amazon's using their email through. Or is it michaelsmith@gmail.com that says he's Amazon? Okay, so look at who the actual email is in the sender. Watch for links. When you're looking at links, if there's several links throughout the page or those hyperlinks that say follow here, click here, hover over them to actually inspect the link. Are all the links going to the same place? Because they shouldn't be. Where are they taking you? Look at attachments. If you weren't expecting an attachment, don't open it, scrutinize it. And then read the message content itself. With AI, this is getting harder to detect because there's less grammar, less spelling, less issues in that manner, but still read through it carefully to see if there's any glaring mistakes. And if you do happen to take an action, call an IT professional right away to support you. And I'm not talking about your neighbor down the street who's good with computers. You need to take your devices to like registered IT professionals who this is what they do day in and day out. They're keeping up on the technology, they're keeping up on the scams and the cyber attacks so that they can help support you and make sure everything is secure. And our last slide is just talking about social media and online privacy. Our privacy and online settings are not what we always think they are. So really, whenever you're using any type of online social media, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Snapchat, eBay, any of these companies, they're asking for your information. Look at how they're protecting it and what your privacy settings are. So who can see your information and what can they see? And then look at your friends. What are your friends' privacy settings? If your friends are posting public profile pictures and public posts and they're tagging you in it or putting pictures of you online, then all your information's out there as well. So educate your friends and family about privacy settings, and if they are tagging you in things and you don't want them to be, ask them to take it down or ask them to remove the tag. And then the National Cybersecurity Alliance has a really great list of just overall everything from email, health, dating, food delivery services, mobile banking, social media sites. It's just got a really great list of privacy settings to help walk you through the different platforms and companies and how to manage your privacy settings. When you're looking at these apps, also look at limiting or restricting permissions and third-party apps. So you have a fun game that pops up that you want to play, you got to register for it, click it, it shares your information. If you're not playing the game anymore, either don't let it share your information to start with, or make sure you remove it when you're done playing the game. Location sharing, a lot of these platforms automatically will opt you into sharing where your location is. This can be a huge security risk for a lot of reasons, so just make sure you're aware if your location is being shared and turn that off. Oops, too fast. All right. And then when we talk about just in general sharing personal information, I'm sure at some point in your lifetime somebody has told you once it's online, it's out there forever. So really take this approach and mentality with all of your information and data that you're using online and sharing online, because the things that we use to create our passwords and the things we use to create our usernames or our security questions are usually things about us, like our hobbies, our family, our pets, our jobs, our lives. And when we share that information online, it's more information for hackers and scammers to use against us, and it's out there forever. And then again, we've talked about it a few times, making sure you're using private internet connections. So here's some resources. I want to provide these specifically, so if you have scams, fraud, you need to report something, you want information, the IC3.gov has great information. That's one place to report. FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, you can report here, find information. There is a huge scam going around with computer pop-ups that they pretend to be Microsoft or Apple, and they tell you that they found something on your computer, typically involving porn, and that you're going to be in trouble. And then they'll claim to transfer you to the FTC. That is not the FTC. Here's the FTC's contact information. If something like that happens, call us or contact them directly here. Better Business Bureau is a great resource to help look up different scams as well as validate businesses, and then just some general cybersecurity awareness. Now we're at questions. I know we went a little bit over, but I'm here for questions if you want them. Yes? Proton Mail.
P-R-O-T-O-N, or is it still weird?
P-R-O-T-O-N, Proton Mail. Yep.
How do you get off of Facebook?
How do you get off of Facebook? For Facebook, they do have an option to go in and close your account. It works. I mean, it closes it from you being able to access it. Does it completely delete it from Facebook? I don't know. From their data, you'd have to read their privacy rules and how long they store your information and your data. Social media is not like the worst thing ever, right? You just got to be mindful. Just got to be mindful of it. Other questions? Yeah.
When it comes to apps, what kind of quick assurance do you have that any of them are good? Like, for instance, I was at a store a couple of years ago and then wanted to scan a QR code, and you search for an app, and how do you know it is a trusted one or if that's a bad one?
So the question is about scanning QR codes and trusting apps. I would say, first of all, never scan QR codes if you can avoid it. It's just another way that hackers can get into your phone and your information. I would go directly to the App Store or the Google Store and search by name for the app.
And if you're at a store and they have a QR code, do you always know where you're going?
I would never scan a QR code at a store.
Okay.
What about
Yep.
restaurants?
If you can avoid it, I absolutely would. There have been times, like when I was traveling recently in Mexico, that, yep, there were a few that required it, especially with everything that happened with COVID. Now they go digital. They don't want to have menus, so they do make you scan it. You're kind of stuck there if you're going to do it or not. You either let your friend take the risk for you and use theirs, or you go for it, or you can ask them for a paper menu. They do have them. They might kind of give you a funny look, but so what? Ask for it. Yeah.
So QR codes are pretty dangerous.
I would stay away from them. Yep. Any other questions? Oh, you asked about validating apps. In general, go to the App Store, Google Play Store, look at the reviews. Like when you open the app before you download it, look at what other people are saying about it. What is it rated? How many people have downloaded it? You could also Google the app itself and type in like scam, fraud, reviews about the app off of the App Store to see if anybody else is reporting stuff on it. No, go ahead.
Another big one. If you get an email that you just don't want to see it anymore, you've seen it 100 times or something, do you still open the email and try to do unsubscribe or just keep deleting it?
So the question is, if you keep getting repeated spam emails, do you open it to delete it, or what do you do with it? Your email provider should have a way to, like, without opening it, just like swipe and report it to junk file, or like filter it automatically to your spam folder. So depending on your email provider, I would look at their security settings.
When I'm on mobile, it's hard to do that. Like if I'm on my phone, I can do it better on the computer.
So it's just settings on your phone that you need to adjust. Again, depending on your mail provider, you can set up different settings on how to do things on your phone. Some of them are more challenging. I have actually switched mobile, like, email providers just because I don't like how they function on my phone. So again, Proton fan here. Yeah, I don't like Apple's email. I don't use that one on my phone. I don't like it. So that's just preference.
Proton has a charge or no?
Proton does not have a charge for their free email service. They have charges for some of their advanced services, like their VPN, some of their extended email services, things like that, but they do have a basic free email service. Any other questions?
Have you written a book yet?
Have I written a book yet? I have not written a book yet. I am working on a kid's book with my son, but side project.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what if you have like a business and you know, all your information is going to be out there? You want to have it advertised on Facebook, your Facebook page,
Yeah.
it's there.
So the question is about businesses and, you know, obviously security for businesses and being online and advertising and things like that. So businesses are a whole other ballgame because businesses, one, in the financial world, do not have the same protections as consumers. They just don't. So there's going to be a lot of other things you're going to want to do for security for a business. The type of bank you pick or credit union you pick for your business is going to be important based on like the offerings that they have for businesses and protection. And if you have a small business, we have a whole pamphlet about like business protection and fraud and identity. So we can get that for you. Clint's got some in his office. Yeah, it's a whole other ballgame with businesses.
Maybe we want to go home and get everything off the internet.
Oh, well, it's not the point. It's not to get everything off. Just make sure it's secure.
You know, like even accessing online banking, and then like if you want to do a transfer from a credit union to another bank. And then maybe if you're going to do that, then they want to send it through Plaid.
Not a fan of Plaid, but
But if that's the only company they want.
then you don't have a
that's all you
choice.
need to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you get the information back off of Plaid after you've done the transaction?
Sometimes with a lot of those where they want to they have you use your username and password to connect to another bank to make your transfer. If you need to do it, I would do it, get done what you need to get done, and then I would go change my password. So that way they just can't get back in. It's all risk-based. Like, I don't want to scare you, right? Because it's all a risk decision. You have to do what it makes the most sense for you, what makes you feel the most comfortable, and that fits into your day-to-day life. It's just putting things in place to best protect ourselves.
Can I offer a suggestion that you could take back to the credit union for me?
Sure.
Mayo Credit Union credit cards, my husband and wife have the same credit card number. Like for instance at Costco, even though it's the same account, it's two different cards. I think that would be good because if you have trouble with one of the cards, they're both no good. So it's almost like, should I open two separate credit card accounts